Greetings, YouTube. I was listening to an NPR story yesterday, and they were discussing a case that involved a New Hampshire resident. Well, at least at the time, a New Hampshire resident. The individual doesn't live here any longer. Um, and the man in question had been a is a disavowed member of the Jehovah's Witnesses. Essentially, the Jehovah's Witnesses kicked him out, even though he felt that he was still a Jehovah's Witness. The church itself did not. And the New Hampshire state motto is live free or die, which has made me question a number of conditions that exist within my state. But because the man was not able to attend the church he wanted to, he didn't feel he was free. So he did not want to have that motto on his license. So he covered it up with a piece of electrical tape. And he got a fine for it. He fought the fine, he lost. So he took a pair of tin snips and cut it off of his license plate. Guy's hardcore. Got fined again, fought it, and took it all the way to the Supreme Court. And because you are legally required to have a license on your vehicle, the Supreme Court decided that the state cannot compel you to advertise, to display a state-sanctioned slogan, because you are required by the state to have a license on your vehicle so you can operate the vehicle legally. You cannot be compelled to display that slogan because the state requires it. And this particular case has now popped up again on the jurisprudence radar because you see it's going to be used in the gay cake controversy. You see, there's a baker who didn't want to make a cake for a gay couple, and his lawyers are taking this all the way to the Supreme Court, and they're going to use the case of this gentleman who didn't want to display a slogan which he did not feel was applicable to his life. But you see, these cases aren't related to each other at all, and those of you who are smart have probably already figured out why. Because the state requires you to have a license on your vehicle, a license plate, a physical plate on your car. That is why you cannot be compelled to display the slogan, because it is a requirement. There is no requirement to own a business. None whatsoever. That is voluntary. And if you open a business to the public, you must serve all of the public, or you will get sued, and you should lose, and you should go bankrupt, because a just society, a civil society, does not tolerate bigotry in business practices. You don't get to put up signs in the window that say no plaid people allowed. We as a society have decided that you shouldn't be able to do that. And if you do it, you will get sued, and you will lose, and you will go bankrupt. Of course, in America's current Nazi regime, you are also likely to be able to go to like a GoFundMe site or something like that, get a whole bunch of money from fellow Nazis, and then continue to live the way you want to, because the bigots have decided to fund your lifestyle because they had embraced you as one of their own. But in this particular case, the guy got sued for not wanting to make a cake for a gay couple. And he's taking this case all the way to the Supreme Court. And he wants to use a case that deals with a government requirement and apply it to a situation where there is no requirement. So I'm not a lawyer here. I admit this. But let's be honest. These cases are not linked. There is no government compulsion. You are not required by the government to open a business. It is a voluntary position. And if you open a business and it's open to the general public, then it must be open to all of the public, whether you like them or not. I'm sure that there are a whole lot of white supremacists that would like to keep black people out of their establishments. But they know if they try that, they will get sued. Just as I'm sure there are plaid people that would like to keep the Nazis out. But as long as they are not causing violence or doing harm, you have to serve them. That's just the way it is. Now, you could put a sign in your window that says, "We do not endorse bigotry." That's fine. But you can't just say, nope, sorry, we're not going to serve it because you have this affiliation. And being gay isn't even an affiliation. Being gay is just who you are. And for those out there who say, well, it's not a genetic issue or not, whether it doesn't matter. We already have protected classes which are not. Political affiliation, religious affiliation. Neither of those are genetic. But yet, we still define them as protected classes that do not allow a discrimination. Now, the research, in my opinion, shows that being gay isn't a choice any more than your ethnicity. I was born this way. I was born with this color of eyes. Now, I could pretend not to have this color of eyes, but this is my color of my eyes. And if someone decided that they didn't want to serve me because of my color of my eyes, I would sue them. And I would win. So, these cases are not applicable to each other. There is no comparison between a completely voluntary process, that of owning a business, and a completely involuntary process, a government-mandated license plate. It's a real stretch, in my opinion, and how it's even being allowed to be used is beyond me. Or maybe the court will listen to any argument and just laugh at them when they do so. We'll see what happens, because the current court, like many of the courts in the past, is really very much a conservative entity. So we'll see. Maybe they'll support this bigot. Maybe they'll decide that the bigot gets the right to decide that he doesn't have to serve certain segments of the country. And I'm sure that the social conservatives in America are just chafing at the bit if that does in fact happen. Because remember, in a country where 78% of the population declares themselves as Christian, they are obviously an oppressed minority.